welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. So happy to have you here. I am really excited to do this video. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep doing these this year, but for now I definitely want to. So it's going to be my December/2022 wrap up and my January TBR. As you will see, the bookshelf behind me is completely empty. That's because that's where my TBR resides, and they're in front of me so I can show them to you. The books that I read in December will be hovering somewhere here or here, photos of them because I put them away as I read them. But so you can see what books those are. The reviews will all be spoiler-free, very quick reviews. I will probably sit down and do some more in-depth reviews of some of the books I really, really loved or really, really hated at some point, but for now they'll be spoiler-free, so no worries there. So yeah, let's jump right in. So my goal for 2022 was to read 50 books. I read 79. Score. I have a new goal for this year of 120, which I think I will just storm right past, but we'll see. So of the 79 books, I picked a best and a worst. Again, I could have picked several, and maybe I'll do a separate video, but for the sake of this video, the best book I read during the course of 2022, I'm cheating a little, it's actually a duology, and it's The Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, duology by Leigh Bardugo. It is YA fantasy. I absolutely loved it. You guys, I would say, yeah, I feel confident in saying these are the best books I have ever read. Fiction books for sure. Best books I have ever read. Absolutely amazing. Most people know what these books are about. It's about a group of 6 people of various powers and abilities, and it's basically a heist type video. They're on a mission. I guess heist isn't technically correct, but pretty close. They're on a mission. Anyway, super good. Love the characters. Still thinking about some of the characters today. Absolutely loved it. The worst book I read this year, I was really shocked by. I gave that to Pretty Little Liars, the very first book by Sarah Shepard. It had nothing to do with the writing style, nothing to do with the storytelling, none of that. It just was that I watched the series and I hated the differences. It took me a long time to grow to care about or like the characters in this book because of how different they are from the characters in the TV show. I also don't like that they have put out another edition. So they're talking about TV shows and technology and things that didn't exist during the TV show. That kind of threw me off. I will say that I've read books 2 and 3 now, and I enjoyed those much more. I've made my peace with the differences, and I'm enjoying the characters more, but absolutely hated the first one. So if you haven't watched the show and you're interested, I would recommend reading the books first before watching the show, I think, because otherwise I think you'll have the same trouble I did, but maybe not. Who knows? I had an extraordinary amount of 5-star reads. I didn't do the statistics, so I apologize for that. Maybe I will try to grab those and put those in the description box for you guys, but I had a ton of 5-star reads, a lot of 4 stars, a handful of 3s, and only a couple of 2s. So it was overall a really good year. But my December wrap up. So I read 14 books in December, and I do have the caveat of probably going to finish 15. So I started another one yesterday, and there are still, today is the 29th, so there are still 3 days left in December, and I started Truly Devious yesterday. So this may make it into December. I'll let you know in January if it made it as a December book or if it is a January book. But so pretty quickly here, I read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, which is the collection of novellas to start the Throne of Glass series. And I also read Throne of Glass, the first book. Phenomenal. 5-star reads. Absolutely love them. I don't think I need to say much about that series. I think most people are pretty aware of the series. It's YA fantasy. It's about, I think her name is Selena Sardothian. I'm probably saying that wrong, but absolutely love it. In love with the characters. Cannot wait to continue the series. I read my first Colleen Hoover book, which is Verity. I chose this one because it was also thriller, and romance is very new to me. There were some slightly too graphic, icky sex scenes in this one, which I kind of skimmed over, but the story itself was great. So I did give this 5 stars Probably closer to 4.5 because of some of those scenes, but to be expected in an adult romance novel. So yeah, the story, the twists and turns and all of that were phenomenal. Loved it. Shocked by the ending. Absolutely loved it. I read another book by Maddie Day, Murder at the Taffy Shop. This is the second book in the Cape Cod Mystery series. These are cozy mysteries, and that is exactly what it is. I only gave this one 3 stars because I had figured it out before the end of the book, and I hate that. I hate when they're that predictable. So that's why I got 3 stars, but it was your typical cozy mystery book. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. I am enjoying this series, so I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I read a nonfiction book called Unbreakable, What the Word of God Has to Say About the Son of God by Andrew Wilson. This was also 5 stars for me. It's exactly what the title says. It's talking a lot about Jesus and just very applicable to daily life. I really, really enjoyed it. If you are a believer, I think you would absolutely love it, maybe even if you're not. Very, very good book. I read Every Deadly Kiss by Stephen James, which is number 2 in the Patrick Bowers series. And I only gave this one 3 stars. It was just not my cup of tea. I didn't love the mystery. It's a detective, like an FBI mystery story. I didn't love the mystery. There wasn't really any good character development from the first book. It was not my favorite. It kept my attention enough, which is why it got 3 stars, and I will finish the series, but not my favorite. I started the Inheritance Games series. I read the first book by Jennifer Barnes, 5 stars. If you like Knives Out, you're going to like this one. The movie Knives Out, you're going to like this, except it's a YA version, but absolutely loved it. Twists and turns and a great story, lovable characters, hateable characters. Absolutely loved it. I read The Quarry Girls by Jess Laurie. I've never read any of Jess Laurie's thrillers. I've read her, she has books that are all titled with the months of the year, and they're like kind of cozy-ish mystery stories, and those are good. I had never read any of her thrillers. I gave this one 3 stars. It was a tough read, but good. Like, the mystery was solid. The character development was really good. The writing was really good. I didn't know exactly where we were going until the end, which I loved, but there was some really dark, tough themes in it. So just fair warning, trigger warning here. There are some themes of SA and some other things going on that, yeah, I could have done without. But the next book is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Just talked about that. Second one in the duology, Six of Crows duology, 5 stars. Absolutely loved. And then I read another nonfiction called Christianity and Liberalism by J. Gresham Machen, I think his name is. And I gave that one 4 stars. The only reason it didn't get 5 is because it was a little bit slower, more of an academic book, so a little more tedious reading. But it was originally written back in 1923 when liberalism held a very different meaning, I think, for most of us than it does today. But this was an updated edition, so it discussed both versions of that word. And it was very, very interesting, very applicable to what's going on in the church today. So I did really enjoy that. I read another Stephen King book, If It Bleeds. This is a collection of short stories. I gave this one 4 stars. I gave this one 3 stars. I looked down to the next book. I gave this one 3 stars. It may even have been lower than that. The first 2 stories I really, really loved. And then the rest of them were meh. It was not up to what I usually expect from Stephen King books. So worth the read probably if you're a huge fan. Not my favorite. And then I read House of Corrections, which is my second book by Nikki French. I'm really enjoying this author. The gist of this is a girl who has been imprisoned for something she didn't do, and she's basically trying to go back and put together the pieces of what happened on this day because she doesn't remember everything. So there are some heavy concepts here. There is some SA, not graphic, and there are just some other kind of heavy concepts, so be warned, but really, really good. I gave this one a 4 stars. It was, yeah, held my attention very well, very interesting. And then the last 2 books I read were Shatter Me and Destroy Me, which is the first book and the first novella in the Shatter Me series by Tahera Mafi, I think you pronounce her name. Both 5 stars. Cannot wait to read the rest of the series. It's a dystopian story. Not going to tell you anything else so you don't get spoiled, but absolutely read it. It's fantastic. fantastic. Loved it. Just shot through those two in less than a day. So I did also DNF 2 books this month, which is a bummer. That's do not finish. So I just took these halfway through and chucked them. One of them was The Phantom Menace. It's just the novel version of the movie. If you've seen the movie, the novel's going to be really hard to read. Really slow. Just very boring. I love the movie. Didn't care for the book. And the other one is Things We Never Got Over. And I know the author is escaping me right now. I didn't write it down, but I know so many people love this book, but I couldn't get past the foul language of the male character. I couldn't get past it. It was so atrocious. And I just hated him a couple chapters in. So maybe this is one I'll have to come back around to give another chance at some point, but not for me. So that's where we're at. My goal was 15 books. I got 14 read. It'll be 15 if I finish Truly Devious. So I would say that's pretty good. Okay, so let's get right to the January TBR. I got my list here. What I have are 10 books in my TBR. I am hoping to read significantly more than that, but I wanted to start with a manageable amount, plus that fits in my bookshelf. So what I did was I used this adorable little prayer box that I have, and I put some prompts down on paper that I found on a couple of different websites and videos. I borrowed some ideas, and I put them on little shredded pieces of paper in here, and I pulled out 8. So those are 8 of the books. And then the 9th book is a book of my own choosing, and the 10th book is one of the Star Wars books because I'm reading through the Star Wars Legend series. So that's how I'm going to do it every month, 10 books that way. If 10 just seems like it's way too many or way too few, depending on the month, I can always adjust how many prompts I pick. So first of all, the Star Wars book. Next book in line is Rogue Planet. This is by Greg Bear. I've never read any of this author's books, but it can't be as bad as Phantom Menace was. So looking forward to that. It looks like it's a book about 12-year-old Anakin, maybe shortly after he was taken in by the Jedi. So hopefully that's kind of an offshoot story. Looking forward to that. And then my pick for the month was Shatter Me, which of course I already read Shatter Me, and I read Destroy Me, and now I'm on Unravel Me. I need to take the sticker off, it's bugging me, but so I'm reading the second full book in the series, Unravel Me. I just want to grab this and read it all the way through right now because yeah, dystopian, that's all I can really tell you without spoiling it, and most of you have probably already read it. I'm kind of behind the game. So that's my pick and the Star Wars picks. So the 8 prompts. The first one was a different genre, so something other than the genres I typically read. So I chose a classic. I don't read a lot of classics, and I am going to read the final book in this collection, which is actually The Great Gatsby. This is a collection of F. Scott Fitzgerald books. I am going to read The Great Gatsby. I read it in high school. I loved it. One of my favorite quotes is from that book. So yeah, absolutely excited about it. I'm sure most of you know what The Great Gatsby is about. I'm looking forward to diving back in. So the second prompt was number in the title. So I chose Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is not a YA book, it's an adult book. I'm really looking forward to it. The cover's so cool. And I loved the Six of Crows series so much that I just feel like it has to be good. So this one is about, let me just read it from the back cover for you. Galaxy Alex Stern is the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. Raised in the Los Angeles hinterlands by a hippie mom, Alex dropped out of school early and into a world of shady drug dealer boyfriends, dead-end jobs, and much, much worse. In fact, by age 20, she is the sole survivor of a horrific, unsolved, multiple homicide. Not going to read the whole back, but that's the gist. I'm already intrigued, so we'll see how that one goes. The third prompt was set in a different continent. So I had been planning to read the second book in the Mortal Instrument series, but that is set in New York. But Jason reminded me that Cassandra Clare has another series. This is Chain of Gold. Beautiful Barnes & Noble special cover. He already read and loved. It is YA fantasy. It's from the Last Hours series. So looking forward to that, and it takes place in England. I Don't really know exactly what it's about, except it's a Shadowhunters book. There's no no information, but I'm sure I'm gonna love that. Let's see, prompt number 4 was favorite genre, which my current favorite genre, and has been most of my life, is thrillers, mystery thriller type books. It's rapidly becoming fantasy, but it's still kind of mystery thriller. So I chose one I already owned from a while ago, actually. It's called Watching You by Lisa Jewell. Lisa Jewell's books are so good. If you like Ruth Ware, Lucy Foley, any of those, you'll love her books. Melville Heights is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Bristol, England. It's not usually the sort of place where people are murdered in their own kitchens, but it is the sort of place where everyone has a secret and prying eyes lurk behind every curtain. So who has been murdered, and who would have wanted one of their neighbors dead? Tell me that's not intriguing. It's intriguing. So that's next. Ugly cover was the next prompt, and we didn't have a ton of books with what I would call ugly covers, and I feel kind of bad about this one because there is a person on the cover, and there's a sticker too, which I'm going to try to take off. I am in no way suggesting that the person on the cover of this book is ugly. She is not ugly, but I am not a huge fan of actual photographs of people on book covers. I don't know why. I just would rather it be art or drawings of some sort. Why do they put stickers on books? I don't know. Anyway, so I chose this one. It's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. First Taylor Jenkins Reid book I've ever read. And yeah, like I said, she's not ugly. The cover's not really ugly, but it's just not my thing. It was the best I had. And this is basically about a book called The Six, Daisy Jones and the Six. I believe it's in the 60s. Is that true? It doesn't actually say here, but I'm fairly certain it's a band in the 60s, a fictional band, and it follows them. What I've heard is that it follows them kind of documentary style. So I'm excited about it. We'll see what I think about that one, a little different for me. The next one was Shortest, and I will confess I hadn't put my books into Goodreads yet when we chose this. So I had Jason help me, and we just kind of looked at the spine to see. It's probably not the shortest book I own, but it's also not super long. It's under 300 pages. So I just chose Murder at the Lobster Shack by Maddie Day. It's the 3rd book in the Cozy Mystery series. I'm sure that I will enjoy it. But yeah, cozy mystery. Can't really go wrong with those. Number 7 prompt was popular. So I just continued with the Throne of Glass series. Everybody's reading the Throne of Glass series right now or has already read it. So this is the 3rd book, technically the 2nd book, 3rd if you include the novellas, Crown of Midnight. The Tales of Selena Sardothian. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Can't wait. So love this book. YA fantasy. Can't say enough. Love it. Super excited to keep going there. And last but not least, the prompt was romance. There is a sticker on this one too. Dang it, Target for your 20% off stickers. The romance prompt is harder for me because I am not a romance book reader. So we'll see how I feel about this, but it is the most highly recommended romance book I could find, looking on Instagram and YouTube and all of this, the people that I follow, and it is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. It says, I wanted to lose myself in the small town of Pelion, Maine, to forget everything I had left behind. The sound of rain, the blood, the coldness of a gun against my skin. For 6 months, each breath had been a reminder that I survived and my dad didn't. I'm almost safe again. But the moment I meet Archer Hale, my entire world tilts on its axis and never rights itself again. I won't keep going because it's a long description, but it sounds interesting, and like I said, it's just been raved about, so I'm hoping this will introduce me to the romance genre and make me interested to keep going there. So yeah, those are the 10 books on my TBR for this month. I have a whole bunch more that I'm hoping to sneak in. I'm hoping to read a couple more in the Shatter Me series, another one maybe in Throne of Glass, maybe even the 2nd one in Mortal Instruments. There are a couple of Kindle Unlimited books I would like to try, so stay tuned because there will be reading vlogs throughout the month or updates of some sort, but I am really excited about this list. So anyway, that's it. That is my wrap up and TBR for the month. I would love to hear what books you guys are reading, books you loved, books you hated. Maybe your thoughts on some of the books in my TBR, but no spoilers, please. So leave me a comment if you'd like. I would love that. Or shoot me an email. I will start putting my email in the description box. I promise. I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I will. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. Looking forward to watching everybody else's January TBRs. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.